The Xylar gaze. The orbital station, a geodesic web spun from solidified nebulae dust, hummed with the quiet thrum of contained starlight. Within its central observation chamber, the Xylar collective gathered, their multifaceted eyes focused on the swirling blue and green marble that was Earth. Centuries they had watched, their initial directive simple: observe, analyze, and determine if this nascent civilization posed a threat to the galactic balance. "The data stream is consistent," droned Elder Theron, his voice a low-frequency vibration that resonated through the chamber. Projected before them was a holographic reconstruction of the African savanna, circa Earth year 1900. A Terran lion, mane a sun-scorched halo, ripped into the carcass of a zebra, its roar echoing with primal dominance. The Terran lion, apex predator, unquestionably embodies the planet's inherent aggression. Zalara shifted, her iridescent scales catching the light. She was young, barely a cycle past emergence, and her opinions were rarely sought, let alone valued. But the images, the endless stream of savage predation, had always stirred unease within her. "With respect, Elder," she ventured, her voice a hesitant chime. "Focusing solely on apex predators paints an incomplete picture. The lion hunts to survive, a biological imperative. The Terrans, they have evolved beyond such basic needs." Theron's gaze, a constellation of crimson points, swiveled toward her. "Evolved into what, Zalara? More efficient destroyers? Their wars, their defoliation of the land, their pollution of the water, all driven by a hunger that surpasses mere survival. The Terran lion is merely a reflection of their own savage nature." Another image flickered, a Terran city, sprawling and chaotic, its arteries choked with metal contraptions spewing noxious fumes. Then a battlefield, scarred and desolate, littered with the remnants of technological warfare. "But they also create," Zalara countered, feeling a surge of defiant energy. "They build, they explore, they love." She knew it was a foolish argument. Love was a difficult concept to quantify, especially to the collective, who prioritized logic above all else. Elder Theron dismissed her with a subtle ripple of his antennae. "Sentimentality clouds your judgment, Zalara. We have observed them for centuries. The evidence is irrefutable. The Terrans are a destructive force, a plague upon their own world. The projection indicates they are on an unsustainable course and require external corrective measures." Corrective measures. Zalara knew what that meant. Intervention. Control. The stifling of a species' potential. The thought filled her with a cold dread. She stared at the blue and green world, a vibrant sphere teeming with life, and whispered, more to herself than anyone else, "But what if we're wrong?" Whispers of coexistence. Flickers of amber and ochre danced across the Xylar console, ancient Earth unfolding in simulated replay. Zalara leaned closer, the projected landscape a pale ghost of the vibrant world she monitored. It was the anomaly reports that held her captive, inconsistencies in the Terran behavioral matrix. For millennia, the collective's algorithms had painted a grim portrait: humans, relentlessly consuming, expanding, and eradicating. Yet the grainy archival footage showed a small tribe, faces painted with woad, circling a pride of lions. Not the hunts she expected, the desperate battles for survival. Instead, tentative offerings of meat. Fear, yes, visible in their hunched postures and wide eyes, but also something else. A nascent curiosity. The scene shifted. A child, barely more than a toddler, reaching out a chubby hand towards a lion cub, its mother watching with wary stillness. The child giggled, a high, fragile sound that echoed strangely in the sterile observation chamber. Zalara compiled the instances, charting the locations, the behavioral patterns. They were subtle, scattered, easily dismissed. But she couldn't shake the feeling, the unease that settled in her core like a shard of ice. "They're adapting," she announced to the collective, her voice barely a whisper in the vast chamber. The Xylar elders turned, their multifaceted eyes glinting with indifference. "The Terrans are adapting as expected," one droned. "Their destructive tendencies are merely evolving, becoming more efficient." Zalara projected the compiled data, the map dotted with shimmering points, each representing an interaction between humans and lions. "I hypothesize they are attempting domestication, not as resource, but companionship." A ripple of something akin to amusement swept through the collective. Domestication of lions? An apex predator? Zalara, your empathy for these creatures is clouding your judgment. Such an action would be illogical, inefficient. Perhaps, Zalara argued, their logic is different. Perhaps their inefficiency is their strength. If they can forge a bond with the very creatures that should be their destroyers, what else are they capable of? Her words hung in the air, unanswered. The collective turned back to their analyses, their projections of resource depletion and environmental collapse. Zalara remained, staring at the flickering ghosts of humanity and lions, a seed of doubt planted firmly in her mind. Was the Xyler assessment truly comprehensive, or were they missing something fundamental, something that could rewrite everything? The thought was a chilling whisper in the vast silence of the observation chamber. Anya of the Savannah. The land cruiser bumped along the rutted track, dust devils swirling in its wake. Anya Okeke barely noticed the jarring ride. Her eyes were fixed on the horizon, searching for the telltale golden shimmer of the savanna grass where her pride, the Mwenga pride, often rested during the midday heat. She spotted them near the watering hole, a tawny knot of bodies sprawled beneath the shade of a lone acacia tree. Relief washed over her. 2 days ago, a poacher's snare had been found dangerously close to their territory. Anya cut the engine, the sudden silence amplifying the buzz of insects and the distant cry of a fish-eagle. She reached for her binoculars, scanning each lion in turn. There was old Jabari, his mane thick with scars, the lithe huntress Zola, and the cubs, tumbling over each other in a playful flurry of paws and teeth. All accounted for. Slowly, carefully, she exited the vehicle. She didn't approach like a scientist making observations. She moved like a part of the landscape, her footsteps light, her breathing even. The wind carried her scent to them, a familiar reassurance. Jabari lifted his head, his amber eyes locking onto hers. A low rumble resonated from his chest, a greeting. Zola, sensing her presence, rose and sauntered towards her, rubbing against Anya's legs with surprising gentleness. Perhaps, Zalara argued, their logic is different. Perhaps their inefficiency is their strength. If they can forge a bond with the very creatures that should be their destroyers, what else are they capable of? Her words hung in the air, unanswered. The collective turned back to their analyses, their projections of resource depletion and environmental collapse. Zalara remained, staring at the flickering ghosts of humanity and lions, a seed of doubt planted firmly in her mind. Was the Xyler assessment truly comprehensive, or were they missing something fundamental, something that could rewrite everything? The thought was a chilling whisper in the vast silence of the observation chamber. Anya of the Savannah. The land cruiser bumped along the rutted track, dust devils swirling in its wake. Anya Okeke barely noticed the jarring ride. Her eyes were fixed on the horizon, searching for the telltale golden shimmer of the savanna grass where her pride, the Mwenga pride, often rested during the midday heat. She spotted them near the watering hole, a tawny knot of bodies sprawled beneath the shade of a lone acacia tree. Relief washed over her. 2 days ago, a poacher's snare had been found dangerously close to their territory. Anya cut the engine, the sudden silence amplifying the buzz of insects and the distant cry of a fish-eagle. She reached for her binoculars, scanning each lion in turn. There was old Jabari, his mane thick with scars, the lithe huntress Zola, and the cubs, tumbling over each other in a playful flurry of paws and teeth. All accounted for. Slowly, carefully, she exited the vehicle. She didn't approach like a scientist making observations. She moved like a part of the landscape, her footsteps light, her breathing even. The wind carried her scent to them, a familiar reassurance. Jabari lifted his head, his amber eyes locking onto hers. A low rumble resonated from his chest, a greeting. Zola, sensing her presence, rose and sauntered towards her, rubbing against Anya's legs with surprising gentleness. Anya knelt, running her hand along Zola's flank. "Hey, girl," she murmured, her voice soft. "You're looking strong." She spent the next hour with them, observing their interactions, noting any changes in their behavior. She knew each one intimately, their individual quirks and vulnerabilities. To outsiders, they were simply lions, dangerous predators. To Anya, they were family. The setting sun painted the sky in hues of orange and purple. As she prepared to leave, Anya paused, gazing at the Mwenga pride. Her life felt intrinsically connected to theirs, and she felt the weight of responsibility. She remembered being a small girl, trailing after her grandfather, a Maasai elder, as he tracked lions through the bush. He had taught her to respect their power, to understand their place in the delicate balance of the savannah. He called her Anya of the Savannah. A name that had stuck, a destiny she couldn't deny. The balance is fragile, Anya. Always has been. These lions, they are part of us, part of this land. But the land changes, and people struggle. But what do we do, Jomo? How do we protect them when everyone seems to be against them? He turned his wise eyes to her. You must be strong, Anya. Stronger than the poachers, stronger than the anger of those who suffer. You must find a way to remind them that we are all connected, that the fate of the lions is intertwined with our own. High above, cloaked in the violet hues of twilight, the Xyler observer registered a spike in Terran emotional output. Distress and frustration. It murmured, its multifaceted eyes narrowing. It focused its sensors, analyzing the exchange between the young female and the elder male. The collective had deemed this species capable of limited cooperative behavior, but these observations, they suggested a far more complex emotional landscape. The Xyler transmitted an updated assessment request, questioning the collective's initial parameters. Perhaps, it thought, these Terrans were not so easily categorized after all, echoes of the past. The dust swirled around Anya's boots as she adjusted her binoculars. The Mwenga pried a tawny shimmer against the dry savanna grass. 5 cubs, barely 6 months old, tumbled over each other, oblivious to the harsh realities of their existence. Jomo sat beside her, his weathered face a landscape of wrinkles etched by sun and time, his gaze distant. They are beautiful, Anya murmured, but a knot of worry tightened in her chest. The encroaching farms were getting closer. Jomo grunted, a sound that could have meant anything. Beauty does not guarantee survival. His words triggered a memory in Jomo, a flashback to his own childhood. He was a boy, barely old enough to herd goats, sitting at the feet of his grandfather, old Chuma. The fire crackled, painting dancing shadows on their faces. Chuma, his voice raspy with age, was speaking of lions, not as monsters to be feared, but as brothers, as guardians of the balance. The lion takes only what it needs, Chuma had said, his eyes twinkling like distant stars. Man often takes more. The vision dissolved. Jomo sighed, the weight of years settling heavier on his shoulders. He remembered the gradual disappearance of the game, the arrival of fences, the angry roars of lions echoing unanswered in the night. He'd witnessed it all, the slow unraveling of a world he thought would last forever. My grandfather, he began, his voice a low rumble, drawing Anya's attention. He taught me that everything is connected. The grass, the zebras, the lions, the people. When one part suffers, all suffer. He picked up a handful of dust, letting it sift through his fingers. We forgot that lesson, Anya. We took too much. Anya lowered her binoculars, her gaze meeting Jomo's. But we can learn again, Jomo. We have to. He looked at her, at the fire in her eyes, a fire that reminded him of his younger self. A self full of hope. He remembered his initial skepticism, his doubts about her grand plans, her talk of corridors and compensation. But he'd seen her dedication, her unwavering commitment to these magnificent creatures. He nodded slowly. The balance, it is a delicate thing, easy to break, hard to mend. You must tread carefully, Anya, and remember the old ways, even as you embrace the new. He pointed towards the cubs, now drowsing in the afternoon sun. Their future, it rests on your shoulders. The hunter's shadow. The metallic tang of blood hit Anya before she even saw her. Imani, one of the younger lionesses of the Mwenga pride, thrashed weakly, her left foreleg ensnared in a vicious wire snare. The wire, thick and cruel, had already bitten deep into her flesh, the raw wound festering under the harsh African sun. Anya cursed under her breath, a prayer and a threat tangled together. This wasn't the work of a simple trapper looking for bush meat. This was professional. She moved with practiced efficiency, pulling out her wire cutters and severing the snare. Imani whimpered, but didn't fight her. The lioness knew Anya, knew her scent, knew she meant no harm. Anya examined the wound, her heart sinking. Infection was already setting in. Imani wouldn't be able to hunt, wouldn't be able to keep up with the pride. She was a liability now, a target for hyenas, a drain on resources. Anya scanned the surrounding bush. Broken branches, disturbed earth, the faint scent of wood smoke. The signs were all there. These poachers were sloppy, confident in their impunity. They wouldn't expect anyone to follow. But Anya wasn't just anyone. She radioed back to base, requesting a vet for Imani. Then, taking a deep breath, she began to track the poachers. The trail led west, deeper into the acacia scrubland, towards the border. Anya moved silently, her boots barely disturbing the dust. The sun beat down on her neck, sweat stinging her eyes. The air crackled with the hum of insects, the distant cry of a fish-eagle. She found their camp near a dry riverbed. A small fire still smoldered, surrounded by the remnants of a meal: bones, discarded plastic wrappers, empty beer bottles. There were 3 of them, judging by the number of sleeping bags. They were probably after rhino horn, or ivory. Lions were just collateral damage, an inconvenience to be eliminated. Anya crouched behind a termite mound, her rifle heavy in her hands. She could take them now, easily. A few well-placed shots, and it would be over. But what then? Hand them over to the corrupt local police? They'd be back out in a week, emboldened, more dangerous. And what about the message it would send to the pride? That humans, even she, were a source of violence and death? It would shatter the fragile trust she had worked so hard to build. She lowered her rifle, the metal cool against her sweaty palm. This wasn't a simple equation. It was a gamble, a desperate attempt to balance the scales of justice and respect. She had a difficult choice to make. Nature would take its course, or she would intervene. A dance with lions. The truck groaned its way across the savannah, a metallic intrusion upon the tranquil obscurity. Anya had marked its progress for hours, the grumble of its engine a predatory cadence in the hushed expanse. She peeled herself from the umbrage of a baobab, a dark form etched against the moon-washed plains. 3 figures spilled from the vehicle, reeking of cheap ale and desperation. Their coarse guffaws shattered the stillness. Well now, what's this then? The biggest of the trio, a jagged scar cleaving his face, sauntered closer. Lost, are we, little songbird? Anya remained steadfast. The musk of the Mwenga pride clung to her, a potent, wild aura she wore as a shield. You're in violation of protected territory. This will be a grave error. The men snickered, emboldened by their ignorance. They missed the subtle shift in atmosphere, the almost felt quiver in the earth beneath their boots. They didn't register the eyes, glowing like hot coals, fixed upon them from the tall grasses. Error? This is a payday. Scarface hefted his rifle. Anya lifted a hand, a simple signal brimming with authority. Halt! The command, though softly spoken, resonated across the clearing, a decree forged from mutual respect and profound understanding. From the inky void, they materialized, not with a deafening roar, but with a soundless, feline elegance that inspired far greater terror. First, the lionesses, eyes like burnished brass in the moonlight. Then Mosi, the pride's patriarch, a bulwark of muscle and untamed power, his very presence radiating animalistic strength. They encircled the intruders, a living barricade of fang and claw. Anya stepped forward, interposing herself between the men and the phalanx of lions. They are under my aegis, she stated, her voice ringing with conviction. She pivoted toward Mosi, murmuring in the rumbling clicks and sonorous purrs of his language. She spoke of the incursion, the peril to his kin, the absolute need for measured action. Mosi answered with a guttural growl, a low vibration that resonated deep within Anya's core. He comprehended. The lions remained fixed, a tacit threat of violence carefully leashed. The poachers, stripped bare of their false courage, began to quake. Aboard the orbiting observation vessel, Zilara watched with narrowed, multifaceted eyes. Her vocalizations, the lions respond with an unprecedented level of comprehension. The collective's appraisal of Terran's symbiosis with apex predators demands reassessment. She tapped a command into the console, isolating Anya's biometric data. Stress indicators are elevated yet controlled. Remarkable. She is influencing their behavior with an adeptness previously considered unattainable. The taming of the collective. The shimmering hollow screen replayed Anya's encounter. The collective, their processing power strained, dissected the Terran's defiance of established parameters, frame by meticulous frame, struggling to reconcile her audacity. Streams of data cascaded in. The precision of Anya's movements, the mirroring nuances in the bear's stance, the poacher's stark terror. A conclusion. Evaded logic. Elucidate. Resonated a voice across the collective, devoid of effect yet freighted with unmistakable bafflement. Zilara stepped to the fore, her avatar projecting calm assurance. The Terran female, Anya, exhibited a behavioral matrix divergent from all projections. She either fled in panic nor submitted in fear. She, integrated with the environment. A sharper tone sliced through the digital space. Integrated, it weaponized a predator of significant magnitude. The beast responded to her directives with alarming acuity. Symbiosis. This is not, it borders on, domination. Domination built upon a foundation of trust, however unlikely. Zilara countered, indicating a close-up of Anya scratching the bear behind its ear. We have fixated on the Terran's destructive propensities, their wars, their despoliation. We have neglected their inherent adaptability, that capacity for coalition in the face of hardship. A current of disagreement pulsed through the collective's unified mind. The records argue against such a notion. Their past is stained with appropriation, subjection, and yet marked with resilience. Zilara interjected, her voice gaining resonance. Observe. The bear is not tethered. It is not confined. It chooses to be her shield. What we witness is not the raw aggression we anticipated. Rather, a strategic deployment of natural resources, a leveraging of pre-existing power dynamics within the ecosystem itself. The argument hung, suspended in the virtual realm. Doubts, like insidious viruses, began to erode the collective's unified front. Murmurs erupted, fragmented and hesitant. Could our original premises be flawed in their construction? The ramifications are considerable in their breadth. If they can command a bear, what primal forces might they yet bring to heel? Zilara seized the opening. We must recalibrate our strategic imperatives. Our simulations are fundamentally incomplete. The Terrans are not merely a menace to be eradicated. They are a force unbound, capricious, and perhaps transformative. The holographic representation swirled, resolving into an image of Anya and the bear melting into the depths of the forest, their silhouettes indistinguishable from the shadows. The unknown, Zilara understood, was now the deadliest component of this new equation. Hope's horizon. Anya's fingers traced the lionesses rippling back as she unfastened the final strap. This was the culmination, the crescendo of months spent coaxing life back into a body ravaged by poachers' traps. Acacia's perfume and the sun's hot breath filled the air as she retreated. The magnificent cat paused, an apex predator reclaiming her dominion. Amber irises, once dull with suffering, now blazed with nascent instinct. A deep purr vibrated through her, a primal song Anya felt in her bones. Then a symphony of muscle and sinew, she pivoted and dissolved into the savannah's embrace. Anya remained, watching the grasses dance in the lionesses' wake. A wave of gratification washed over her, laced with a thread of melancholy. She was liberated. She was whole. But the specter of poaching haunted the plains. The Mwenga pride's future, and countless others, remained a gamble. Shading her eyes, she murmured, "Fly free." Across the gulf of galaxies, within the Xylar Collective's resonating core, Zilara addressed the gathered minds. Terran Subject A7, Anya Okeke, displays anomalies requiring reassessment. A corona of static punctuated Zilara's projection, evidence of the Collective's internal strife. Her actions suggest an evolved capacity for selfless behavior, extending even to potentially hostile fauna. A murmur of dissent echoed through the Collective. A predator's nature is immutable. Sentiment provides no defense. Zilara stood her ground. Perhaps, yet her endeavors, and their effects upon her biosphere, hint at transformative potential, a possible shift in that nature. She presented a cascade of data illustrating Anya's efforts, restored ecosystems, empowered communities. They are not solely driven by consumption and destruction. They are also capable of fostering growth and offering protection. A profound silence descended, broken only by the rhythmic pulse of the collective's central mind. Slowly, a revised consensus began to coalesce. Adjust observational parameters. Prioritize analysis of Terran initiatives promoting interspecies collaboration and ecological recovery. Evaluate long-term effects on planetary equilibrium. Zalara turned towards the celestial tapestry marking Earth's location. The data still revealed a dire situation, a planet plagued by climate chaos, dwindling resources, and societal fractures. But now, she perceived something more, a spark of optimism. Embodied in the resolute spirit of a single human and the untapped possibilities of a species on the precipice. A modified directive rippled outwards from the collective, a subtle alteration in their perspective. Observation continues. Neutrality maintained. Further developments will be followed with guarded interest.